Hello, my name is Grace Alisa Kangara, and I'm here to talk about some of the techniques that we use in Habitline. Now, one of the techniques that we pride ourselves in is the 80-20 principle, or the 20-80 principle, which is also known as the Pareto Law. This technique was discovered in 1897 by an Italian economist called Vilfredo Pareto. Vilfredo Pareto was an economist, but he noticed an interesting trend that there was a minority, few, who are holding the economy and who are in charge as compared to the majority, many, who had the less. And it didn't matter where he looked at. Whether he looked at all over the world, it was the same pattern. Whether he looked at the economy, it was the same pattern, whatever era it was. Then he started looking at it again, and he noticed that it did not just fall upon the economy, but it also was something to do with the other parts of life. As he studied, it was not easy to convince people about this law because it was new. But somebody later on picked up, who prided himself, called Joseph Moses Duran. He took up this and started a movement, and the movement was the rule of the vital few. In other words, he was talking about the vital few against the trivial many. These few people had taken up the majority of the stacks in the economy, as compared to the very many people who had the least. But when you look at it, it's that the economy also depended on these few people. It's not just on the many people, but the few people. Now, I want to give an example. When we look at it also, we realize that this technique is also in our life, everyday life. When we stay in a house, we use only 20% of the space. When we are in that space that we have taken the 20% of the space in the house, we also use 20% of that space again. We use 20% of our wardrobe for shoes, for clothes, whatever you have. There's that favorite thing that you don't want to let go. We take 20% of the food. Our budgeting in the house is 20%. You find that 20% of something in the house is what carries a bigger budget. 20% of the bills carry the bigger budget. So it is the 20% that carries the 80% of your budget. Then you also discover that in the words in the dictionary, the dictionary is the biggest book, one of the biggest books, but we only use 20% of the words in that dictionary, maybe even less than 20%, maybe even 5%. So in other words, the 80-20 law is crucial. In agriculture, we discover that the crops are grown in the 20% of the fertile land. Or the crops, what we're getting, the 20% of the land is feeding the 80% of the country. How can that be? We discover that in a company, the workers who work, it's not the whole 100% workers. It is the 20% vital people, workforce, who work to cater for that company. The customer, the clients, you find that 20% of the customers are the repeat customers, the ones who provide the most cash. So you find that the 20% is an important law. 20% products in the supermarket are catering for the supermarket. Yet the other 80% are there, but the 20% are catering for the 100% of the land, of the supermarket. 20% of the clouds, 20%, all these clouds that you see, 20% create the most rain. So, how does Habitline use this? After realizing this, we realize it's a very important part in Habitline. So Habitline will help you to specialize and prioritize your strength to achieve your maximum capacity. Now, going back to the land of Japan, the country Japan, in 1957, to 1989, Japan decided to use this rule, the 80-20 principle. And what came up? What did it come up with? It was the most industrialized country in the world because of using that. The United States had started using it in the 1960s. But now, we are coming to realize that it is very important even for us individuals. The people who are 80-20 people, the people who make it in society, and the people who are the brand, who make themselves the brand. It's not the company, it is about the brand. So we're talking about Habitline harnessing that 20% strength of yours to help you achieve your goals and enrich your life. To make up for the 20-80 principle. Thank you.